Something I've noticed over the years of knowing bands and being in bands and interviewing bands, like, we all kind of fetishize this idea of like original lineups and things like that. But if you really think about all the bands you love, it's all like classic lineups. It's like Pantera's playing right now and everyone's like, oh, it's only 2 original members. It's like, yeah, those guys aren't original members either. Like Phil Anselmo's not even the first singer of Pantera. It's
Oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about like, it's basically like U2. Like there's very few bands, right?
Yeah, it's very
So
rare.
when you start as teenagers, like you're inevitably going to go through people that get in different places in life, and they get married, they buy houses, they take over their family business, or
Of
they realize they're not cut out for it.
That's exactly what happened with Attila.
Yeah, and I think that's more bands than it's not. I think it's most bands.
Yeah.
And so what I think is more noteworthy is when you can kind of coalesce around like a core group, and it's like, these are the essential people. Other people might come and go, and other people can become essential, but it's like, this is sort of, you get to a point, right, where you know, like, this is the band now.
Yeah.
At this point, I would consider us all like the original members.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there wasn't really anything.
It's like for all intents and purposes,
There wasn't really anything significant whatsoever in our career before these 2 guys. So it's like, I might have started the band in 2004 when I was 14, but there wasn't anything significant, at all. Like we played a parking lot, cool, or someone's driveway on Halloween.
Backyard.
Yeah, or we played in the backyard, like, cool. But like, this is what matters, because this is when we started writing like real shit and doing real tours.
Yeah.
So I would very much say this is original Attila right here, forever.
And it's funny when you end up in situations where it's like, oh, the new guy's been in the band for 12 years. And I find that's pretty common with bands too.
Yeah, if you could do one thing for a decade, you're not a fucking new guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a new guy, 12 years ago.
Yeah, it was like Jason Newsted. We were still calling him Jason New Kid 14 years into being in Metallica. It's like, all right, dude. How long are you the new guy?
It happens.
Yeah, so what do you think it is about these 3 individuals, the chemistry between you, the friendships, the interest, music differences? What is it that keeps you drawn together and, focused on doing this particular band? And, when you could obviously be doing
I would just
anything
say
else in
like
life.
the what it comes down to at the end of the day, which is probably like pretty rare for most bands, is that we're like best friends on earth, and if we could choose any people in the whole world to hang out with, we would only choose us 3. And I think that's kind of rare for a lot of bands, because they might be like amicable and like they can make things happen and make music and like barely like get along on a tour, but it's like even when we're off tour, we just hang out with each other. Like we actually are friends like that, to where
Still kick it.
we kick it all the time, and whatever it is that we're doing, even outside endeavors, we all get each other involved in it. Like we're closer than a family could even be. So I think that's probably just the craziest part that makes it all work. We're just such good friends that we're not going anywhere ever.
Yeah, there are a lot of bands where it gets to a point where the band is the only thing really tethering them together. So
Oh yeah,
you're saying without the band, you guys would still be.
Yeah, we
If
toured.
this band didn't exist, we would just be best friends still hanging out.
Yeah.
So it's like the band's obviously...
You might as well do the band.
That's why the band's been around for 20 years now.
We're like, this is an excuse we can go travel together and go to bars and drink and hang out.
We can hang out with our best friends because we're in this band. Like I don't even care what the fuck happens in the future. We're gonna literally probably be in this band till we're 80. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's just like, hey, yeah, we want to hang out. Let's go on tour.
There's so many bands that just really don't fuck with each other.
Oh
at
yeah,
all. Like,
not at all.
They can't wait to get home and separate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
We're the opposite. We go home and we're like, God damn it! Like we just want to hang out more.
Yeah, that's killer.
It's also like, with the older you get, I feel like your friend group
Absolutely.
gets smaller. You know what I mean? We're already close friends, so it's like, who else do you want to hang out with? These people we're already friends, so it's like, you keep your circle tighter and tighter the older you get, and we've been doing this for fucking 15 plus years, so it's like,
and through
it's kind of a
important years of
no-brainer.
your life as people,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like through, you know, all the changes that we all go through in like you know, teens and 20s, and like if you've survived that, then you all like still like each other. Like that's, you know.
And I think we have a really good writing chemistry. I think that was one of the biggest like selling points when he asked me to play. I was like, well, I get to write as well. You know what I mean? I wasn't just gonna come on and play whatever songs you tell me to play.
Yeah.
Me and this guy, like,
We
hunkered down in Atlanta, wrote like half of this album we're about to play tonight
basement.
in like a week. And then,
Yeah.
I mean,
We
we
write-
all write together
Besides
really, really
the
well.
friendship chemistry, which is probably the most important part, the musical, like, writing, composition, chemistry is phenomenal.
Where each of us
we
lack,
complement each other.
where each of us lack, the other one will pick up.
Yeah, that's
In-
how it
in
should
the
be.
music- in the
Complementary
music.
differences. You know?
When I'm like running out of an idea, like he comes out with something that I was like, well, I would have never thought of that, or vice versa. Or I'll show him something and he's like, I know how to make this better. So that's also like pretty rare.
Yeah.
Usually there's like one guy who writes everything.
One guy who writes everything, or a band that, like, butts heads and is like, fuck your idea, like, that sucks, or
Yeah.
this or that.
Every
versus-
song's like the result of a compromise that a bunch of people were.
Yeah.
No
Or-
one liked it. Like everyone in the band's
But
unhappy.
we don't have to compromise, we just actually, like, help each other.
Yeah,
when
we just sit
write.
in a room and figure
And
it
we
all
all,
out
we all
together.
agree.
There's
Yeah.
a ton of bands that don't even write.
Or
any
there's
of their
bands
own
that don't even
stuff.
write their own music.
Yeah, and that's kind of a newer phenomenon in the
Yeah.
last few years. But
Yeah, well,
it's like
I-
pretty
we
common.
7
produce-
co-writers.
A lot of
in a
us
row,
we
yeah.
produce full time as well when we're off tour, and you're surprised how many bands.
How many bands show up and they're like, "We're here to make our album. Cool.
It's-
How many
I'm
songs
like-
do you have?
it's
I'm like,
mind-blowing.
yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
you got any
Mind-blowing.
demos?
Produce our album."
Show up, like, what ideas do you have?
Like, I got an idea. Like, I want to make it heavy. You're like, that's your
Okay.
idea.
I want everything to sound really big
I want,
production,
like,
but also
snare
let it sound
bombs.
I
live.
want snare bombs, bass drops, and I want to be heavy. I'm like, is that it? Like, work with me here, pal.
I love when a band on like their second or third record tells me we really focused on the songs this time. It's like, so
So what about the
never
last
did
two
before,
records?
before now? Like,
Yeah.
or another favorite of mine is like, what's crazy about this album is like the poppy parts are the poppiest we've ever done, but the heavy parts are the heaviest we've ever done.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, you were the 1 millionth band to say that.
Yeah. This is the best
Congratulations.
album we've ever done.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we got
that's-
some new songs. Hope
That's
you
one
like
thing
them.
I stopped doing is, like, we would make new albums and I'd be like, fuck, like, this is the best fucking shit we've ever made.
I
blah,
mean,
blah,
you
blah.
should feel that way.
You should
It's kind of
feel
a
that way.
I
catch-22.
feel that way, but I think it's better to just, like, not say, like, this is the best shit we've
Yeah.
ever made. Say nothing.
Yeah.
Be a man.
Just, yeah.
Say nothing. Be a man. Just drop it. Just be like, fuck it.
There
Here
it
you
is.
go.
There's a song.
Because then there's no basis. Because if
There's
you're
no
like, this is so
expectations.
good, this is so good, everyone's expectations are here. And even if you pivoted your sound a little, they're like, fuck you. But if you say nothing, just drop it, and then people are like, oh my God, this is great. It's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I have to ask if it feels, how vindicating it might feel, or funny even, that when you think about a time when Attila was really coming up into prominence in the scene, quote unquote, and you had you were rapping and you had like all this like elements of hip hop culture in Atlanta, which shout out Goody Mob, shout out Outkast, shout out all the amazing
Chainz.
Dungeon Family, 2 Chainz, TLC. You were really doing that in a moment where, like, rap metal was like over, it was passé. People were embarrassed that they ever liked it. How does it feel now? And it's all back and it's
pretty
big again,
interesting.
and like all the old bands are popular again. And if I interview a band of like 22-year-olds, it's like they talk about like Linkin Park like it's Led Zeppelin. It's like that
Yeah.
was like their seminal, important, like formative stuff. What's that feel like to be in Attila and be like, hey,
Wild, bittersweet.
remember when you said we shouldn't do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're all doing it.
We were
Yeah.
like,
Like
we were like the
every-
Limp Bizkit. It wasn't cool to listen to Limp Bizkit back
Yeah.
in the day.
Yeah.
Now Limp Bizkit, everyone's like,
now
I fucking
yeah,
love
now-
Limp Bizkit. I was like, yeah, you were the guy that made fun of people who listened to Limp Bizkit.
We incorporated rap and metal. Not saying we were the first ones to do it, because
Right. Yeah,
obviously there are Linkin
not.
Parks, etc. But like in the
You were
way
doing
that
it at a time where it wasn't.
Wasn't cool to do it.
And
at the
different
time,
genres. No one was
in
doing
different
deathcore with
genres,
rap.
because exactly. Like we had actual like heavy breakdowns. Like
Yeah.
it was screaming.
Yeah, there's no like pig squeals in
wasn't
rap before that.
Yeah, it wasn't quite
First
like
pig squeal
it
rap.
wasn't quite like anything Linkin Park was doing. So it was very different, and we were the first band to do that. And when we did it, we were met with so much hate. Like I'll never forget when About That Life came out. It was the most hated album in the universe, 2013, and every single, whether it was like Revolver, Loudwire, you name it, every single article was worst album of the year, worst album of the century, worst thing we've ever heard, total dog shit. And like all the headlines were just constantly in my face. It was funny.
They're worth a Google.
They're worth the Google because like I've never been roasted so hard in my life until we dropped about that life. And the craziest shit happened because we dropped that shit, and then 3 months later, it was the biggest album ever. Like everyone loved it because I think they had to check it out because why is this article saying this is the worst fucking shit on earth? So like if 1 million people check out the album because of that article and 100,000 of them like it, that's a fucking win, dude.